day, everyone. I am Christina Vibalatensayo and I am from Group 10. So today we are going to discuss the training and budget resource management. So training and budget resource management, it is a critical function for any organization that aims to develop its workforce, improve performance, and achieve strategic goals. It involves a systematic approach to planning, allocating, and overseeing the financial and logistical resources dedicated to employee learning and development. So before we proceed to our discussion, let's have a brief overview about the topics that we are going to discuss. So here's our table of contents. The first topic here is training, budget, planning, and allocation. So in this section, it focuses on the strategic process of forecasting, securing, and distribution of funds for employee training and development. It also involves identifying training needs, estimating costs, and allocating the budget to specific departments or programs. So the goal of this topic is to ensure that resources are used efficiently to meet organizational goals. For our next topic is cost-benefit analysis. So in this topic, it covers the evaluation of training programs by comparing their costs against the benefits they produce. It helps determine if the investment in training is worthwhile. Costs include direct expenses and indirect costs, while benefits can be tangible or intangible. This analysis helps in making informed decisions about which training initiatives to pursue. So our third topic is resource optimization. In this topic, it is about making the most of available resources to maximize the effectiveness of training programs. This includes not only the budget, but also other resources like time, personnel, and facilities. Strategies may include using a blended learning approach or leveraging internal experts as trainers or negotiating group rates for training materials. So this topic aims to get the best possible return on investments from all available resources. For our fourth topic, vendor management. So in this topic, it involves the selection, contracting, and management of third-party training providers, or also known as vendors. It's about finding the right partners to deliver high-quality training. So its key activities include evaluating vendor credentials, negotiating contracts, monitoring performances, and maintaining strong relationships. So, effective vendor management ensures that the organization receives the best possible service and value from external partners. So for our fifth topic, training facility management. In this section, it addresses the operational aspects of managing the physical spaces and infrastructure that was used for training. So this includes scheduling training rooms, maintaining equipment, and ensuring a conducive learning environment. It's about ensuring that the physical setup supports the training objectives and provides a comfortable and effective experience for participants. So let's proceed to the first topic, which will be discussed by Miss Christine Cruz.
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Christine Cruz and we're talking about the training budget planning and allocation. So the budget planning, this is how a company plans and figures out how much money they need to spend on training and learning activities over a year. It involves figuring out what training is needed, estimating how much it will cost, like materials, instructors, facilities, travel, software, and etc. Making sure it aligns with the company's goals, and then creating a budget plan. So, first, let's talk about the budget planning. This is basically how a company figures out how much money to spend on training each year. It involves thinking about what kinds of training are needed, like safety courses, leadership classes, or computer skills. The company then estimates the costs, such as paying trainers, buying training materials, and renting a space, or covering travel expenses. For example, if they want to train staff in customer service, they'll set aside money for the trainer manuals and maybe online tools. And the goal is to make sure the training fits the company's goals and that the money is used wisely. So first, let's talk about the budget allocation. The budget allocation, this is about how the training budget is split up and among different programs, initiatives, departments, or cost areas. Basically, it's about deciding which training gets how much money. We need to find a good balance between what's most important, how cost effective it is, what we expect to gain, and the company's bigger strategic goals. Next, let's talk about the budget allocation. This is simply about splitting the planned money into different programs and departments. For example, if a company has 1 million pesos for training, they might use it about 40% for safety training, 30% for technical skills, 20% for leadership programs, and save the 10% for emergencies. Allocation is important because it helps make sure the company or the money is spent where it's most needed and cost effective, and supports the company's bigger goals. Okay, now let's talk about the importance of training budget planning and allocation. So number one is thinking ahead helps you see all the expenses involved, like trainers, course materials, travel, or missing work. Doing this means you can set aside enough money up front so you won't be surprised by any extra costs. So, thinking ahead, if we plan ahead of time, we can see all the costs of training, like paying trainers, buying supplies, travel expenses, and the time we miss at work. When we start preparing early, we can set aside the money we need and avoid surprises when bills come in. So let's proceed to the second one. So the second one would be when you plan your budget carefully, you can see if your training actually pays off. For example, you might ask, did errors go down after training? Or did things get faster? Or maybe did customer service improve? This way you can show that the money spent on training was worth it. So basically, if checking if training days pays off, when we make a good budget, it's easier to see if the training really makes a difference. Like, did errors decrease? Did workers do their jobs faster? Did customer service improve? Okay, and then if yes, this means our money is spent on training was worth it. Okay, and then now let's proceed to the number 3, which is the last one of the importance. Number 3 would be helping the money reach its goals is important. When planning the training budget, you can choose programs that focus on what the company needs most, like better customer service, faster production, or fewer errors. This way, the money spent actually makes a difference. Okay, so basically in the number 3, supporting company goals planning, our budget helps also make sure the training matches what the company wants to achieve. For example, We can choose training programs that better customer service, speed up production, or cut down the mistakes. That way, the money we spend actually helps the company to get better. Okay, now let's move to the next one, which is the different training budgeting methods. So the first method here is the bottom-up costing. This figures out the cost of each training session, including materials, the venue, trainers, and so on. So the first method is bottom-up costing. In here, we first calculate the cost of every training session. This includes the trainer's fee, materials, venue, food, and even travel expenses. For example, if we plan a 2-day customer service training, we add up the cost of the trainer, manuals, lunch for the participants, and room for the rental. After adding them all, we can know the total cost of that. And the second one is the top-down approach. The leadership team decides on a total budget for training. From there, each department gets a share based on their priorities and strategy. The second method is the top-down approach. In this method, the company leadership sets a total budget for training. Then each department receives a portion of that budget. For example, if the company gives 500,000 pesos for training, the HR department might get 200,000 pesos, IT gets 150,000 pesos, and sales get 150,000 pesos, depending on their needs. Okay, and then now let's proceed to the number 3, which is the linear programming or optimization models. These are the tools that help split resources fairly among departments or employee levels, considering things like capacity, number of trainers, and available facilities. They help figure out the best number of people to train in each program. So in the linear programming or optimization models, this sounds like technical, but it simply means that using tools or formulas to divide resources fairly. For example, if there are only 5 trainers available but 10 programs requested, the model helps decide which program should get more trainers and which can be adjusted. This ensures that resources are used wisely. And then now finally, we have the objective-based budgeting. Setting your main goals like closing skills gaps, meeting compliance, or developing leaders. Then create training programs to meet those goals and assign budget accordingly. So now we have the objective-based budgeting. This method focuses more on the company's goals. For example, if the main goal is to improve safety in the workplace, then more money is given to safety training programs. And if the goal is leadership program or development, then more budget goes to management workshops. It's all about aligning money with the company's priorities. And that's all for the topic of training, budget planning, and allocation. I hope that you learned something from me about this topic. And the next topic would be the cost-benefit analysis, to be discussed by Australia Samara. Thank you.
A cost-benefit analysis. A cost-benefit analysis is a decision-making tool that helps you choose which actions are worth pursuing. It provides a quantitative view of an issue, so you can make decisions based on evidence rather than opinion or bias. It is particularly useful in project planning. It compares the financial feasibility of new projects against their potential returns. Here are some examples of when to use a cost-benefit analysis. Developing a new business strategy, making resource allocation or purchase decision, deciding whether to pursue a new project, comparing investment opportunities, measuring the potential impact or desirability of new company policies,
And lastly, assessing proposed changes to your company's structure or processes. And let's proceed to how to do a cost-benefit analysis. Step 1. Build a framework. Creating a framework that lays out the goals of your analysis, your current situation, and the scope of what your analysis will include. When building a framework, you should have background, current performance, opportunities, future project performance, and risk of status. Step 2. List and categorize costs and benefits. For these steps, it's helpful to collaborate with stakeholders so you can benefit from their specific expertise. There are 4 types of cost: direct cost, indirect cost, intangible cost, and cost of potential risk. If there are 4 types of cost, there are also 2 types of benefits: direct benefits and indirect benefits. Step 3. Estimate values. This step involves assigning monetary values to all identified costs and benefits, including tangible and intangible factors. Step 4. Analyze costs versus benefits. This is the actual analysis of your costs and benefits. There are total cost. What is total cost? The sum of all costs. Total benefits, the sum of all benefits. Net cost, benefit. Total benefits minus total cost. Net present value, or NPV. Net present value is a more dynamic way to measure net cost benefits because it includes how your net cost benefits will change over a period of time. Internal rate of return, or IRR. Calculate the profitability of an investment by determining the annualized return rate that make the total value of all cash flow. Benefit cost ratio represent the overall relationship between cost benefits over a period of time. Discount rates used to estimate how the values of your costs and benefits will change over a long period of time. And lastly, sensitivity analysis determines how uncertainty affects your decision cost and benefits. And last step is make recommendation. If your net cost benefit is positive, that means the benefits of your project outweigh the cost. If your net cost benefit is negative, that means your project costs outweigh the benefits. And lastly, let's proceed to pros and cons of cost-benefit analysis. Let us start first in advantage of cost analysis. Streamlining decision-making processes. Cost-benefit analysis aid in simplifying complex decisions by translating them into qualifiable terms. This approach is particularly useful in scenarios where return on investment and cost effectiveness are key considerations. Revealing overlooked costs and advantages. Some benefits or expenses are not immediately apparent, but the true cost-benefit analysis makes them clear and guarantees a true evaluation. And lastly, emphasizing a data-centric method by focusing on quantifiable data such as estimated cost and forecasted benefits. Cost-benefit analysis promotes objectivity, reducing the influence of subjective biases. And lastly, let's proceed to cons of cost-benefit analysis. Revenue and cash flow can be unpredictable due to changing market conditions. In some cases, the costs or benefits of a project or decision can be directly reflected by dollars amounts, It can be hard to accurately predict all potential risks. A cost-benefit analysis requires a significant time commitment to complete. Accuracy diminishes for projects extending over a long period, affecting the reliability of the analysis. The complexity of accurately predicting every variable such as future costs and intangible benefits poses a changes. The effectiveness of cost-benefit analysis depends on the accuracy of the data used. Misleading or incorrect data can result in flawed conclusions.
Good day everyone, I'm Sophia Rose Amplores and I will be discussing the resource optimization. Resource optimization is the process of strategically allocating and utilizing an organization's assets, including people, technology, materials, and finances, in the most efficient and effective manner possible. It involves analyzing, planning, and managing resources to maximize productivity, improve cash flow, reduce waste, and achieve optimal business outcomes. So, this means that if you use your resources as effectively and efficiently as possible, the company can become more productive, save money, and reduce waste. When people, time, tools, and money are managed wisely without being overused or wasted, work gets done better and faster. This leads to higher performance overall and can even increase profits in the long run. These are the process of resource optimization. It includes: first is assessing demand, analyzing upcoming projects and their resource needs based on skill requirements and availability. This means checking what skills and resources will be needed for future projects and seeing if they're available, so you can plan ahead and avoid shortages. Next is evaluating current capacity, reviewing your team's current workload, availability, and individual expertise to understand how well they can handle upcoming tasks. This means checking your team's current workload, free time, and skills to see if they can handle new tasks without being overloaded. Next is identifying optimization opportunities. Looking for opportunities to improve team allocation, whether through redistributing workload, upskilling, or hiring. This means finding ways to use your team better, either by spreading out the work more fairly, teaching them new skills, or finding extra help if needed. So next is allocating resources. Assigning team members based on skill match, availability, and project priority. This means giving team members tasks that match their skills and availability while focusing on what's most important. Last but not the least, monitoring performance. Continuously tracking resource allocation and project progress, making adjustments as necessary. This means that regularly checking how well resources are being used and how projects are progressing, then making changes if something isn't working so everything stays on track. These are the variety of methods you can use to ensure the efficient use of resources in project management. The first method of resource optimization is resource leveling, a technique that involves adjusting project dates to ensure it can be completed with available resources. I have a calendar here. So, for example, I have a project that needs to be finished in 2 weeks. Sunday 14, but I only have 2 people to work on it. To avoid over allocation, I can adjust the schedule so that one person works on the project during the first week, Sunday 7, and then the other person takes over in the second week, Sunday 14. By adjusting the workload this way, I can make sure neither person is overwhelmed or underutilized. The second method is resource smoothing. This resource optimization technique involves adjusting activities within the slack or float of the project to avoid over-allocation without changing the project duration or affecting the critical path. For example, Ms. Rivera gave me a project with an 8-week deadline. After creating a detailed timeline, I noticed my team is completing tasks faster than expected. And there is a 3-week slack or float in the schedule. To use this extra time wisely, I adjust the schedule by adding new tasks like doing extra documentation without changing the project's ending or affecting the critical path. In this way, I make better use of resources while keeping everything on track. This is the last method, reverse resource allocation. This resource management technique involves working backward from the project deadline to allocate resources. Critical tasks are prioritized with the necessary resources. For example, I have a project with a 6-week deadline. To make sure that everything is done on time, I would start by identifying the most important tasks and making sure they have enough resources like people or equipment assigned to them. Then I would work backwards from there, assigning resources to other tasks based on their importance and deadlines. This helps ensure that critical work gets done first and nothing gets delayed because of missing or misplaced resources. So by ensuring that all 3 resources optimization methods are used, an organization can effectively manage their resources to optimize productivity and reduce waste. This ensures that the most important tasks are completed on time, contributing to the overall success of the organization.
Vendor management is a term that describes the processes organizations use to manage their suppliers, who are also known as vendors. Vendor management includes activities such as selecting vendors, negotiating contracts, controlling costs, reducing vendor-related risks, and ensuring service delivery. The vendors used by a company will vary desirably depending on the nature of the organization, and could include companies as diverse as seafood suppliers, IT vendors, cleaners, and marketing consultants. Vendors can also range in size from sole traders to organization. So, why is it important? Vendor management in training and budget resource management. So, vendor management is important in training and budget resource management because it plays a key role when it comes to selecting the right vendor for a particular business needs. In addition, companies can also use vendor management to achieve business goals such as harnessing opportunities for cost savings as well as taking steps to speed up the onboarding process. So, what do you mean about this onboarding process? It is a process or involving tasks like attending an introductory orientation, familiarizing themselves with the company's hierarchy and culture, and grasping its goals and principles. Vendors also need to be managed effectively in order to reduce the risk and supply chain disruption and ensures the goods and service provided are delivered on time and to be expected standards. Beyond this, an effective vendor management processes can help companies build stronger relationship with their vendors, which may in turn lead to opportunities to negotiate better rates. Activities and vendor management process. The first one is selecting vendors. The vendor selection process includes researching and sourcing suitable vendors and seeking quotas via request for quotation and request for proposal, as well as shortlisting and selecting vendors. The company should be able to choose the best vendor among the selection pool in the procurement process. When selecting vendors, the qualification of each new vendor should meet the company's standards and be able to help the company achieve its quality and profitability goals. While price will inevitably be a consideration during the selection process, company will also need to evaluate other factors when deciding which vendors to appoint for a particular contract, such as vendors' reputation, capacity, and track record, as well as the vendor's ability to communicate effectively. And the second one is contract negotiation. It's important to get the contract right at the outset and to ensure the terms agreed benefit both parties. Negotiating a contract can take time, and the process will include defining the goods and services that will be included, the start and end dates of the arrangement, and all essentials, terms, and conditions. Attention may also need to be paid to areas such as confidentiality and non-compete clauses. And the example of this is the Amazon's HQ2 stance. Amazon dropped plenty of PR when it enticed more than 200 North American cities and regions to compete to host its second quarters, dubbed HQ2. But in November 2018, some of that PR turned negative when Amazon revealed it had decided to split HQ2 between New York and Arlington, where it already has a strong presence. Many call the auction as a farce aimed at attracting privileged data from applicants, and the $2 billion in tax breaks promised by New York and Virginia also left local politicians and residents crying fall. As the story shows, negotiation stunts often backfire. And the third one is vendor onboarding. This will involve gathering and documentation and information needed to set the vendor up as an approved supplier to the company and ensure that the vendor can be paid for goods and services they provide, as well as essential contract and payment information. The onboarding process may also include information such as relevant license held by vendor, as well as tax forms and insurance details. For example, if you're onboarding a vendor for a one-time transaction for a non-strategic need or an indirect vendor, the business and legal stages should not take very long. However, if you're onboarding a vendor who will be the sole provider of an important strategic service or good to the company, or a direct vendor, the supplier evaluation, business, and legal stages will most likely take longer. The three-step of manual supplier onboarding process are the get supplier approval, vendor or supplier completes onboarding form, and lastly, review the supplier onboarding form for completeness and enter the information into the ERP system. Monitoring vendor performance. As part of the vendor management process, companies will monitor and evaluate the performance of their vendors. This may include evaluating the performance against key performance indicators or KPIs such as quality and volume of goods or delivery dates. The importance of these KPIs is to protect margins, safeguard compliance, and drive continuous improvement. By linking KPIs to risk evidence, renewal terms, and value metrics, and also procurement teams. And the fifth one is the monitoring and managing risk. Vendors should be monitored for risks that could impact the company, such as the risk of compliance breaches, lawsuits, and security issues, and the loss of intellectual property. Companies will also need to monitor the risk that vendors' actions or a failure to provide goods and services as agreed may result in disruption to the company's operations. Some of the most common third-party vendor risks include security issues and cyber security breaches. This potential risk, which most likely pose a threat to information and data, should also be prioritized by the companies. System that provide vendor risk management, including risk mitigations processes, should be used. The vendor management lifecycle is the approach that the organization use to monitor and manage vendor performance and compliance as they go through the supply chains. And the last one of the vendor management process is the payment. Ensuring the vendors paid on time for the goods and services they provide in line with the agreed term, information, and related activities in one place for the organization's reference. Vendor management or supplier management software can fulfill a number of functions from managing the RFF post process to streamlining suppliers' communications. Vendor payment is basically paying your goods or suppliers for providing your business with goods and services required to make the finished product, which the business will sell. Hence, to maintain healthy relations with your suppliers, your business must have vendor management and vendor payment process in place. So, in order to make the vendor payments the right way, your business needs a vendor management process.
Good day, Dr. Emerson, and everyone who's watching right now. I am Precious Ann A. Wong, and I am going to end our presentation. I'll be discussing about training facility management. According to Vector Solutions in 2023, facility management training is a strategic and systematic process. This means it's not just about welcoming new employees or giving them a quick orientation. Instead, it's about building a structured program that equips individuals with the skills, knowledge, and competencies they need to succeed in managing facilities. Or in other words, facility management training prepares people to handle the complex or hard responsibilities of maintaining and operating buildings and work environments. This includes everything from making sure that the system like electricity, air conditioning, and safety measures are in place, to ensure that the workplace is more comfortable and more efficient for the employees. So, training in facility management is really about making sure that the people responsible for this task are not only prepared but also confident in handling challenges as they come. In my report, there are many strategies to strengthen facility management training. Here are the 7 key tips. First, we identify the skill gaps. So, not every employee has the same level of knowledge, and we already know that. So, by assessing what people already know and where they struggle, organizations can create training and addresses the most important needs. Secondly, customize training for diverse roles. Facility managers, technicians, and administrative staff may all need different kinds of training. Customizing ensures that Each employee learns the skills directly relevant to their responsibilities. Third, embrace blended learning methods. So here, training is more effective when it combines classroom sessions or the e-learning with the modern tools like workshops and simulations. So this variety keeps employees engaged and helps them learn in different ways. Fourth, provide opportunities for practical applications. It is not enough to learn concepts in theory. Employees should be given the chance to practice what they have learned, whether that's through hands-on experiences, real-life scenarios, or on-the-job training. Fifth, encourage continuous learning. So training should not be a one-time event. Organizations should provide ongoing workshops, refreshers, courses, or learning paths so employees can keep improving. So, number 6 is use a learning management system or also known as LMS. So this is a digital platform that makes training more efficient because it can track progress, store learning materials, and give employees access to lessons anytime or anywhere. And lastly, or in 7 tips, measure and adjust the training approach. This means organizations should evaluate how effective the training is, collect feedback from participants, and make necessary improvements. Training should always evolve based on results and employees' needs. Now, we are here in our last slide. It's benefits of facility management. Now, let's talk about the benefits. Facility management training does not only improve technical skills, it also creates a positive impact on the organization's culture. First, it instills values and beliefs. Training is an opportunity to emphasize values such as respect, collaboration, and inclusivity. When employees are trained with these principles in mind, the workplace becomes more cooperative and supportive. Second, it improves communication and transparency. Training encourages open dialogue between employees and management. So, when communication is clear, employees feel valued, heard, and motivated to do their best. Third, it provides continuous improvement. Facility management trainings helps employees develop a mindset of constant learning. This means they are more open to adapting, improving, and keeping up with the new technologies and practices in facility management. So, in short, training facility management is not just about maintaining buildings, but it is also about creating a workplace culture that values growth, teamwork, and professionalism. And that ends our report. Thank you, and that concludes our presentation.
So before we end our discussion, we must remember that this comprehensive management process is ensuring that training investments are not just expenses, but strategic drivers of companies' growth and overall performance. So I hope you learned something from the discussion that we made today and to be able to apply it in your future work. So thank you for listening and good day.